Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for inviting me to this panel, and it's a pleasure to be here. You know, I'm in an unenviable position of being the last session of the day, right before dinner. So we'll like to make this engaging, interacting for the people who are here. Right. So we have been listening to a number of stakeholders in the ecosystem from the morning. We have listened to the ideas and to the points of views from the government agencies, from standard-making bodies, from research institutions, from some of the startups who are there, right? And in this session, we would like to understand some of the great on-the-ground solutions which are being developed by some of the companies being represented by people here. And what I would like to do is two things. One, as we were discussing in the last panel about hats, right? So let me first talk about the two hats that I wear, right? So one hat is obviously of the investor, as Mr. Anurag said. And we are very much interested in understanding how some of the great startups can be enabled to take the journey forward when they are interacting with system integrators, government bodies, participating in the whole smart city ecosystem. And the second hat that I wear is of an operating partner, where I closely work, and our firm closely works with these startups as well as other portfolio companies that we have in other geographies to enable cross-docking of clients, of technologies, of cooperation and go-to-market, so that there is leverage of being present in that Lumis ecosystem. That leverage comes from how we are enabling certain things for these companies, not just providing capital. Right, so those are the two hats, but let me quickly talk about our perspective on smart cities. And one thing that I would like to bring to the table in the next 3-4 minutes is how some of the great smart cities all over the world have been developed, and what are some of the models really prevalent in other cities. And we have heard some of those instances. I'll keep it very short. I'll just share a few insights that I have to share. Right, so you can categorize the whole model into 3 parts, or 3 different engagement models. So one is startups first, which essentially means that the government or that city has essentially decided that the innovation is the key driver to really make that city smart. And to get that innovation into the bloodstream of the ecosystem, let's directly interact with the startups and find out what are some of the great solutions that they are building, and then quickly scale them by providing them access, data, use case, monetization avenues, and so on and so forth. So that is the startups first model. That's on the left. The right model, the rightmost model, is the bigger players only model, and there are some of the cities who have adopted that, where they are saying that, okay, the big cloud providers like Google and all, or the big system integrators, or the big infrastructure guys like Cisco, they are the right people because they exactly know what are the scale-up challenges. The biggest problem in my city is how do I scale up even a simple solution so that it quickly covers the masses, and the masses are getting benefited from it. So let me interact directly with that cloud provider, that infrastructure provider, and all of that to reach the masses in as quick time as possible. And then these bigger players in turn interact with the startups and integrate the whole solution. But they are the primary in this kind of a model. And in between is the mezzanine approach, right? So mezzanine approach is somewhere in between, depending on case by case, traffic, parking, smart lighting, energy. Depending on case by case, what are the priorities and how advanced is the solution. These cities have either gone directly to the startups or engaged with bigger players. So very quickly, Singapore is one of the models, most advanced and very much studied model all across the globe, where it is a model city in a model country. And they are very best at integrating rapidly evolving technologies, and the key there is deploying them economically. Right, and obviously it's a startup hub. It has an additional benefit of fast tracking the development of local startup ecosystem as well. Dubai is another example, one of the smart city candidates, best smart city candidates, and they have recently launched Smart Cities Accelerator as well, really proving their commitment towards this model. Kansas City is on the other side of the table, where they would like to work with cloud players and internet players, right? And they are aiming at deploying their solution en masse. And similarly is Seoul. Seoul has tied up here in Kansas. They have tied up with cloud providers. In Seoul, they have tied up with telecom, which is the infrastructure backbone provider, right? And then London and Western Europe essentially are banking on either interacting with players like Cisco or directly interacting with startups. But they also, encourage a lot of participation from academia, student bodies, incubators, and technology labs. So they are, interacting with a lot of players and figuring out what is the best solution for each of the problems, on-ground problems. So just to conclude, perfect envision model might not have been found by now. That is the goal that I seek in the next 5 years in India as it goes and cements its commitment, both in terms of financial as well as government policies and all of that. We'll find out the perfect engagement model for each of the scenarios that we have. Startups do play an important part in this whole ecosystem, right? And let me take that opportunity to start introducing each of the startups that are being represented by esteemed gentlemen and gentlewomen out here. Thank you. So